with the help of this Banking Regulation Act, RBI controls other bank in India. Banker and customer is a two different parties, so which is necessary for the organization or which is necessary in order to run bank. The person who deals with or the person who undertakes the business of banking activity is considered as banker. Unit 1 and Unit 2, that is Introduction to Banking and Reserve Bank of India. So these two units for internals 1. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to one and all to the introductory session on Law and Practice of Banking. I am Meghana from the Department of Commerce, lecturing in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. In today's session, let us discuss with the syllabus, internal portion and a book for reference in today's session. Let us look into the syllabus of Law and Practice of Banking. So under that first one, Unit 1 is Introduction to Banking. So basically the Unit 1 is all about introduction. So the meaning and definition of banking, what is banking, why the human beings need bank and evolution of banking and classification of banking, that all you are going to study under Unit 1, that is Introduction to Banking. Next, Unit 2 is Reserve Bank of India. So you all know what is Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India, they print notes and circulate to the Indian economy. So here they regulate the other banks. So here the control of other banks in the hands of RBI. So their regulation, so and structure of RBI. All this you are going to study under Reserve Bank of India. Unit 3 is Banking Regulation Act 1949. So this act regulates the banking activity or business activity, banking business in the Indian economy. So through this Banking Regulation Act 1949, this RBI regulate and control the all banking activities in India. So that you are going to study under Unit 3. So next, Unit 4 is Banker and Customer. So banker and customer means banker and customer is a two different parties, so which is necessary for the organization or which is necessary in order to run bank. So here banker is the person who undertakes the banking activities or banking business. Then customer is who agree the contract or who is going to deposit the money or who is going to receive or who is going to lend the money for their purpose. So what is the relationship between the banker and customer? Is there any necessity to maintain a good relationship between the banker and customers? And banker obligation of bankers and rights of customers. So that all you are going to study under Unit 4, that is banker and customer. And the last unit, that is e-banking. So now you all know, you are familiar with the e-banking, like mobile phone applications that are available in the mobile phone. Through the mobile phone only you can operate, you can send money, you can borrow money, you can receive and you can get the loan through mobile phone only. So nowadays visiting the bank is less, so because of e-banking. So what is e-banking and the rules and regulations? So there is some condition, rules and regulations under e-banking. So what all are the rules and regulation and procedures? So all you are going to study under Unit 5, that is e-banking. So rather than visiting a bank, e-banking is benefited for the customers. So even the bank and even the government promoting this e-banking. So it reduces the work, it reduces the workload. So it is more benefited for the customer as well as for the banker. So in detail you are going to study about e-banking under Unit 5. So let us start with the Unit 1, that is Introduction to Banking. What is bank? Bank is a financial institution which accepts money from the customer as well as which lends the money to the customers. So here it is a financial organization or financial institution which deals with money. That means either they receive the money or they lend the money to the customers. So banking is defined as the business activity. Here receiving and lending money, it's a business activity accepting and safeguarding money owned by other individual or entity and then lending out this money in order to conduct economic activities. That means here banking is a business activity which accepts the deposits as well as they safeguard the money of other individual, not only an individual, other entity or organization. So the bank accepts the money from the individual and entity and organization. So as well as they lend the money to others. So they lend this money in order to conduct the economic activities, they lend this money. So in order to make profit, so they make this business or they do this activity in order to make profit or else in order to covering their operating cost. So in order to meet their expenses, in order to meet their operating expenses, they do this business. That means accepting money and lending it to others. So from this, they will get some money. So either it may be a profit or in order to cover their operating expenses. So it is accepting and safeguarding the others' money and lend it to others. So under Unit 1, you are going to study the meaning and definition of banking as well as the evolution of banking and classification of banking. So the various types of banks are available. So the banks are classified into different types. So you are going to study in detail under Unit 1. So moving further, Unit 2 is Reserve Bank of India. So Unit 2 is Reserve Bank of India. It is popularly called as RBI. So RBI is an Indian central bank. It's an Indian central bank and RBI is a regulatory body for regulating the Indian banking system. So they regulate the Indian banking system. They have a control over other banks in India. So under this, the ownership of RBI is run under the ownership of Ministry of Finance, Government of India. So here the ownership is with Ministry of Finance. It comes under the Department of Finance, Government of India. So it is responsible for the issue and supply of the Indian rupees. So they are the responsible to print and issue the Indian rupees. So there is some rules and regulations. So what all are the rules and regulation? And the RBI is nationalized, the nationalization of RBI. So that all you are going to study in detail under Unit 2. Next, Unit 3 is Banking Regulation Act 1949. So you need some regulation in order to run any business. So here rules and regulation in order to run the business. With the help of this Banking Regulation Act, RBI controls other bank in India. So here the Banking Regulation Act 1949 is a legislation in India that state all the banking firms will be regulated under this act. So here all the banks is regulated under this act. There are total 55 section under this Banking Regulation Act. Totally 55 section we have. Then initially the law is only applicable for the banking sectors. Initially this applies only for the banks. Later on in the year 1965 it is amended in order to make it applicable for the cooperative bank as well as to introduce other changes. So they make some changes and they amended this act in order to make it applicable for cooperative bank also. So initially it is only applicable for the bank. So in the year 1965 this act was amended in order to make this act applicable for the cooperative banks also. Then the act provides a framework that regulates and supervises commercial banks in India. So for everything or every activity, you need some rules and regulation. For example, in educational institution, the students, they require a framework that is designed timetable and a particular teacher needs to assign for a particular subject. So it is a framework for effective and smooth working of organization or any business. So you require some framework or rules and regulation For the smooth working of an organization, you require some rules and regulation. So that this Banking Regulation Act provides rules and regulation to run the banking system or banking business in India. So here, this act gives power to the RBI to exercise, control and regulate banks under the supervision. This act provides RBI to exercise control over other banks, and in order to regulate, in order to control, regulate and guide the other banks in India, this act provides power to the RBI. So, using this act, RBI is going to control the other banks in India and they are going to regulate the banks in India. Under this unit, you are going to study Narasimha Committee Report 1 and 2 under Unit 3. Moving further, Unit 4 is banker and customers. So now you know who is banker and who is customer. So the person who deals with or the person who undertakes the business of banking activity is considered as banker. And the person who deposits the money or the person who lends the money is considered as customers. Here, both the banker as well as the customer are required, or both the banker and customer plays an important role in the banking activity. Without any person, with the absence of any one of them, you cannot run the organization or you cannot do any business activity. So here, the bank and customer are two different parties or two different terms that are related to banks. So both are two different terms but which is related to bank. So here the person doing the banking business is called banker and the person is connected with the bank either depositing his money or taking loan from the bank is called banker. Then a relationship between banker and customer is a legal relationship. It is a legal relationship. So then that starts after the formation of contracts. So this relationship exists after the contract only. So what is the contract? When a person who opens a bank account in the bank and banker gives his acceptance for the account, it binds banker and customer in the contractual relationship. So after the relationship exists, after the establishment of relationship only, this banker and customer relationship exists. So after the contract only, this banker and customer relationship will exist. So in order to accept that contract, in order to exist that contract, the person or an individual should open a bank account in particular bank and the banker should accept his contract or the banker should accept his account. So then it establishes a relationship between banker and customers. So there are some regulation or there are some obligation for the banker to follow and rights for the banker as well as the customers. So what all are the banker obligation and rights? So that all you are going to study in detail under Unit 4. Last but not the least, e-banking. E-banking or electronic banking refers to all the forms of banking services and transaction performed through electronic means. So all the transaction are performed through electronic or through internet you are going to transact. So that is called electronic banking. It allows individual, institution and business to access their account. So here it allows the individual and organization to access their account through internet. So and it not only access their account and it allows them to transact and obtain the information on a various financial products and services, that is public or private network including the internet. So through the internet, the e-banking, this applications allows the customers, that is individual, institution or organization to access their account as well as to transact them and to get the information when it is necessary. So it provides all the financial information to the individual, institution and organization. So here the main object is internet. Through internet you are going to transact or you are going to access with your account. So it is a benefited for the banker as well as the customer. So it reduces the banker efforts or workload for the bankers, as well as it helps customers to access their account where they are. So it is a benefited for both the banker as well as the customers. So under unit 5 you are going to study in detail about electronic banking. So what is electronic banking and the evolution of electronic banking and advantages of electronic banking, disadvantages of electronic banking under unit 5. So moving further, let us discuss with your internals portion. So your internals is for 40 marks. So this is for 40 marks. So in order to score 40 marks, you need to attend all the 3 internals. So portion for internals, for first internals, the portion is unit 1 and unit 2, that is introduction to banking and Reserve Bank of India. So these 2 units for internals 1, and for internals 2, unit 3 and unit 4, that is Banking Regulation Act 1949 and Bankers and Customers. And for the last internals, the portion is e-banking, that is unit 5. So in order to get 40 marks, you need to attend all the 3 internals, because the final marks will be awarded on the average of 3 internals. So here we are not going to consider the best out of 3, we will consider the average of 3 internals. So in order to score 40 marks, you need to attend all the 3 internals. So this is all about internals portion. So next, moving further, books for reference. I refer you The Law and Practice of Banking by J.M. Holden and Indian Financial System by Vasant Desai. So for the Law and Practice of Banking, I refer these 2 books. So purchase the book as early as possible. So this is book reference. Next, learning outcomes. If you study this paper or this subject, you should be able to acquire this specialized knowledge of law practice related to banking. So if you study this paper, then you will be able to acquire the specialized knowledge of law practice related to banking. So the law and rules and regulation, law and practices of banking. Then you should be able to analyze and understand the various functions of bank. So basically, in general, we know bank accepts deposits and lend money, and also some other basic information about the banks. So the rules and regulation and how it is controlled by RBI. Then regulation for the bank. Then the rights and obligations of the bank. The bank have the obligation to maintain the secrecy about the customer's details or customer account detail. So these all are the obligations that you are going to study in detail in this paper, that is Law and Practice of Banking. So this paper is specially designed for you, for the BCom students, in order to increase their knowledge about the banking system. So you will get the information, detailed information and knowledge about the banking system. So it is benefited for the students for their futures. So various facilities or various benefits are there from the bank. So you can get that benefits by analyzing this paper. This is an interesting subject, as well as you can score more marks in this paper. So pay attention and learn effectively. So by learning this paper or subject, you should be able to acquire the knowledge about the banking system. This is all about introduction of law and practice of banking. So let us start with the next session with unit 1. So that is introduction to banking. So let us meet in the next session. Until then, keep watching. Thank you.